Cashman. Cashman's having a superb game. Down towards Jimmy Barry Murphy. Nice catch. John Fitzgibbon. A point. The longer the game has gone on, John Fitzgibbon has struck up a good understanding with Jimmy Barry, and he's feeding off him well just right now. Sean Stack under it. Such an elegant and accomplished player. But he loses it, and he's lost it to Cork's Kevin Hennessy, and passed it on to Jimmy Barry, who... It's a piece of magic. What a super goal, celebrated by the fans. Kevin Hennessy got it, and passed it on to Jimmy Barry, who finished in typical opportunistic fashion.
Yes, a great occasion for Cork hurling, and of course they went on to top it off by winning the All-Ireland later in the year. Can they reach those heights again in '87? One man I'm sure who's hoping that they do is the Cork manager, Johnny Clifford, and Johnny joins us right now from our Cork studios. Johnny Clifford, the last time I spoke to you, it was the evening of the All-Ireland hurling final. You were a happy man on that occasion, but here we are again, another championship to look forward to now.
That's right, Michael. It looks like only last week, but that's what the game is about. You start off afresh, and we're hoping to have a very good championship run, especially if we get over tomorrow. We know that tomorrow can be very difficult for us. It's our first game in the championship. It's a bit of an unknown quantity going in without Jimmy Barry Murphy, Johnny Crowley, after an American tour. But we look good in training, Michael, and we hope to play very well tomorrow.
Johnny, you mentioned Jimmy Barry Murphy, the biggest change, of course, in the Cork scene since last year. How difficult is a player like that going to be to replace?
Well, it's almost impossible to replace a person like Jimmy Barry Murphy. I'm sure other teams feel the same with their top players. But I know Jimmy would want me to say this, Michael. We just have to get on without him. And we intend to do that tomorrow. And we have no fear of the people that we have picked instead of him. He's a tremendous loss. Johnny Crowley also a tremendous loss. And we just haven't got them, so we have to forget about it and go on and do the job without them.
There was a rumour flying around, John, that you were going to try and persuade Jimmy Barry Murphy out of retirement for the championship again.
No truth whatever, Michael. I only left him yesterday and we didn't even discuss that. I know Jimmy's position on playing again, and I wouldn't even attempt to persuade him out of retirement when the lad has made up his mind finally.
Some interesting changes in positions on the Cork team this year. Pat Hartnett at centre-back, Tony O'Sullivan at midfield. What are the thinking behind some of those changes?
Well, the thinking, Michael, really is that with Johnny Crowley off, we've had to drop people back from each position. Like Tony Sullivan back to midfield, then Jim Cashman back to wing half-back, Dennis Walsh back to left corner-back. That's the way we thought the team would look well and would be stronger by doing that. Pat Hartnett centre-back, obviously, then, because Dennis Welch isn't available there. We feel he's our next best bet there.
But now, looking at Limerick, they were not very impressive against Waterford, but I'm sure they're going to be a very different proposition tomorrow, and I'm sure you know that too.
I do indeed, Michael. I've watched Limerick and Waterford. I've watched Tip and Clare last week, and being honest about the thing, they were both poor games. But I would have to say, and it has happened, and the facts are there, whenever they seem to play Cork, and especially when we're All-Ireland champions, the three of those counties up their performance by at least 80%, and I expect Limerick to be exactly the same tomorrow.
I'm sure this year, though, John, you would like to do that 6 in a row.
We would, Michael. We would like to do the 6 in a row, but funny enough, you're the first man who has mentioned the 6 in a row to us. It hasn't been mentioned in training. All we feel tomorrow is it's the start of another championship. We want to do as well as we possibly can, get to Croke Park again if we can, and the 6 in a row, if it comes within that context, fine, we're happy if we can do that.
Well, Johnny, as I'm sure you'd agree, Limerick can count themselves very lucky to be in this semi-final at all. Now, they went into their game against Waterford as the clear favourites. They won the match all right, but they came out of it somewhat shaken.
Season. No Leonard Anning to it. Pat Ryan trying to break it up there with Liam O'Connor, very much steady as a rock at centre half-back. Towards John MacDonald, the player slips inside as Donny Barry tries to get the ball out. Here's John MacDonald, scored 4-4 in a recent challenge match to Pat Bennett. There's a goal for the taking here for Waterford. Pat Bennett, the scorer, saluting that pass from John MacDonald. Waterford go a goal and a point ahead. What a tangle the Limerick defence got itself into, however. John MacDonald, the player in possession, with that sweet pass to Bennett, and somehow it was scrambled in and over the line.
And so, against all the odds, Waterford had a clear lead by half-time, 1-9 to 7 points, and things looking pretty glim for Limerick. Well, for the second half, Limerick made a series of switches as their manager Eamon Cregan attempted to stop the rot and was beginning to show the frustrations of seeing his side struggle to find their form. As we rejoin the action, Limerick have made those changes, Danny Fitzgerald having been moved into the attack. Limerick are trailing by 3 points with 15 minutes to play.
Can he get a goal? Great stop by Pat Curran. That's the second superb save he's made from Pat McCarthy. Oh, breathless stuff. Pat McCarthy had a delightful turn, and this time he went for the near post, but again the keeper from Stradbally was equal to it. Certainly Limerick doing an awful lot better in the second half. Still not playing very well, it must be said, but doing so much better than in the first half. Shane Fitzgibbon trying to come more into the game, leading Daithí 4 in the merry dance. The hand pass across the goal towards Danny Fitzgerald. There's the goal, and Limerick are in the lead. Some spectacular wing play, and the pass across to Danny Fitzgerald, who buried it away to the goalkeeper's left. Towards Terence Kenny, getting by Pat Ryan. Can he give his side the lead again? Pursued by Jimmy Beresford. The hand pass outside to Danny Fitzgerald, but he might have gone for a point chance himself. So responsibility passed over to Danny Fitzgerald, having to go really the hard way about it. To Anthony Carmody, the substitute in the second half, and finally the point comes. Well, they seem to be making it awfully difficult for themselves, but Carmody gives his side a 1-point lead again. The Waterford fans who long for the days of Tom Cheasty and Frankie Welsh and Phil Guinan and the others, well, they must be refreshed by what they've seen this afternoon. Pat McCarthy gets it inside to Terence Kenny. Can this seal it? Yes, it's a goal! A goal by Shane Fitzgibbon. Limerick lead by 2 goals and 15 to Waterford's 1 goal and 14. Nice combined play by Terence Kenny, setting up Shane Fitzgibbon, and his finishing was expert.
Yes, a close call indeed for Limerick, and one man who had his heart in his mouth, I can tell you, during that match was the Limerick manager Eamon Cregan. However, when I spoke to him during the week, he had other things on his mind. Now, they concerned recent newspaper reports suggesting that a number of Limerick players had been disciplined after an alleged drinking session following training. I asked Eamon Cregan if there was any substance to those reports.
Well, Michael, there's no split in the Limerick camp, and just to clarify the matter, a portion of an article appeared in the Sunday Independent stating that some of our players in Killarney were drinking and broke discipline, and because of that they had been dropped for the match the following week. That is totally untrue. What actually happened was that 3 of our players, we gambled with a team. We tried to pick a team that we felt needed the experience. So 3 of the players that would normally be on weren't played, and this story was picked up on the Independent and is, as I said, totally wrong. One of the players actually mentioned, although there were no names mentioned, was never in Killarney.
You've been also saying to me that it's put a little bit of pressure on the players, although not directly mentioned in the article, but people have identified them and are now accusing them of having been drinking in this training session.
Well, this is it. One of the players, even though, as I said, none of the 3 players were mentioned on the paper, one of them has been, I suppose, people have jokingly said to him, haha, that's why you were dropped.
Yeah.
And he was very upset over it, and we looked for an apology from the Sunday Independent, but that thing that appeared in the paper last Sunday wasn't an apology. But like, it's over now. We've forgotten about it, and our job next week or next Sunday is to hopefully beat Cork.
Well, presumably next Sunday, Eamon, all the players will be present, sober and ready to go against Cork. But realistically speaking, how do you rate your chances now that you've been back in charge of the Limerick side again for the winter months?
Realistically speaking, when we were picked, we said it was a long-term prospect. We have a number of young players that have not played in the championship before, have not played in senior championship before. So we played very badly against Waterford, no doubt about that. Now there is plenty of room for improvement. We're playing a Cork team that is going for 6 Munster titles on the trot. Now that is something, you know. The other thing I'm worried about is there isn't a word out of Cork. you know, and when they're quiet, anything is liable to happen. So realistically, we don't have much chance next Sunday. But I guarantee you one thing, we won't be on our knees next Sunday. We will give our best.
Eamon, just looking back again to the Waterford match, maybe it's a good thing for Limerick that it was a close game, that you didn't win it too easily and maybe filled people with overconfidence.
I agree with you. It didn't. I don't think it did Limerick any harm, but there were times there during that game when, like, it's a good job my heart is kind of strong, because it looked with 6 minutes to go, we were 7 points down, 8 points down, but the team showed great heart, and this is the quality which is in this team. They have tremendous heart. Now, we may not be as skillful as Cork, but we have great heart, and we'll keep going to the very end.
If you were to make a comment or a promise to Limerick people who want to see Limerick hurling back at the top again, what would you say to them in the long term for Limerick hurling as far as you're concerned?
It's going to take time, there's no doubt about that, because the young players coming up haven't got the experience. We have some of the older players, but the fact that Leonard Enright isn't available is a big, it's an awful body blow to Limerick, and that happened on the Thursday night prior to the Waterford match. But it's going to take time, but I guarantee you one thing, Limerick won't be on their knees next Sunday. We're tired of being on our knees to other counties, and we'll be standing on 2 feet next Sunday.
Well, Eamon knows very well, though, that Limerick's championship record against Cork isn't very good in recent years. They've been beaten each time they met. As in 1984, for example, even when Limerick got off to a splendid start on that occasion against Cork at the Gaelic grounds.
Dermot McCurtain, Paddy Kelly for Limerick, about 60 metres out, the first score, 32 seconds. Paddy Kelly, who was the top scorer in their league final triumph, opens the score now in just over 30 seconds. Half Foley's sideline shot. Ger Cunningham out to it. Ger doesn't get it too far though. This is Ollie O'Connor. Shot from Ollie O'Connor. It's a great start for Limerick. John Fenton the taker. 3 points on the board already from frees by John. Would he have a go at this 28th minute of the first half for the goal? The referee warning them all that they must wait till the ball is struck. John Fenton now striking low. It's stopped, and then it's got in. It's Kevin Hennessy, I think, or Shawnee Leary. Between them it is. Tomas Mulcahy, Kevin Hennessy the 12 inside, and Mossy Carl closing in. Pat Hartnett is here for Cork. Pat Hartnett with the shot, and it'll go on the board. John Fenton, scorer of 5 points for Cork already. Tommy Quaid has to dive for that, it got in! The goals really have been coming by chance in this Munster semi-final. Now, can Cork come back? What a lift that's been for them, Shawnee Leary! Jimmy Carroll here with that helmet. The pass to Mossy. Paddy Kelly sends it further. Dennis Mulcahy is there for Cork. Tomas Mulcahy. Liam O'Donoghue. Dennis Walsh here now. The shot from Dennis about 40 metres out. He gets it. What a change about in the semi-final. What a transformation by Cork. Remember, they were 8 points behind 19 minutes into the first half. Oh, that's in from John Fenton. Tommy Quaid went up with the hand. John Fenton's sideline cut it was. Tommy Quaid got up off his fingers into the corner of the net.
Yes, a rare but costly slip there. Well, let's get a neutral opinion now on tomorrow's match. At least it's semi-neutral anyway. It comes from Nicholas English. His mother is from Limerick, but he still fancies Cork.
Well, I wouldn't see much between any of the 4 teams in Munster, you know, Limerick, Clare, ourselves or Cork. Obviously Cork, without Jimmy Barry Murphy, I mean, people are going to see what they're going to wonder what they're going to be like and what's going to happen if they go 2 or 3 points down. Who are they going to look to in the forwards, you know? But looking at their team that was picked, I think it's a fairly strong team, and Limerick are going to be under a bit of pressure to beat him. I mean, Limerick are without Leonard Enright too, who's a fierce last time. And I know Pat Carey is a good player, but he's under 21. So, I mean, if he was going to mark Jimmy Barry